Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, November 17th, 2021, and today we're going to be talking about the state of Nevada and its new gerrymander or lack thereof map for the 2022 midterm elections. Now, taking a look at this brand new map, with the Democratic Party in full control of the state of Nevada, many expected that this map would be gerrymandered into a way in which Democrats would be the favorites to win all three of these seats that they currently hold, with Republicans holding one. And in essence, that is true. The numbers here do show the Democrats in the favorable advantage, but the map itself ultimately puts the Democratic Party at a risk of Republicans winning all four of these Nevada seats. I posed the question in the title of this video because the Democratic Party drew this map in a way that removed an entirely safe seat that they drew previously during the 2010 redistricting cycle, in which the Las Vegas area, Nevada's first congressional district, had a partisan lean of Democrat plus 22, which meant that it was safe no matter what type of election year that it was going to be. The surrounding two districts had Republican leans. Nevada's 4th had a Republican lean of 1, and Nevada's 3rd had a Republican lean of 5. But all around here, the Democrats were able to win, primarily because the incumbents there were popular and were able to survive even the 2020 anti-Democrat year when it came down to down-ballot races. So Nevada Democrats held on in 2020, but this new map actually, what seemingly is a little bit more favorable towards them, could still pose a major threat for 2022. And I am reminded of the 2014 midterm elections, which I will show you in just a moment. But before we get into it, I want to show you what this new map actually does. So on the old map, there was one safe Republican seat. It had a partisan lean of Republican plus 16, and it's currently held by an incumbent Republican. Now, in this new district, Nevada's 2nd, so it's going to be the same congressional district, it is a partisan lean of Republican plus 13, so slightly less red. Instead of plus 16, down to a margin of plus 13. It seems that the Democratic Party has drawn in some of these more Democratic areas into the 2nd district. Now, moving down, the 4th district actually takes a turn. Democrats take the advantage plus 5. This 4th district goes from what was plus 1 for the GOP to now plus 5 for the Democrats. Seemingly good, right? Well, it also looks good in the 3rd district, in which that was an area where Republicans had a 5-point advantage. Now Democrats have a 2-point advantage. So I know what you might be thinking. What are you talking about when it comes down to this? How are you making a point that Democrats might be screwing themselves over? Well, this comes from the 1st congressional district, in which Democrats actually have the less of a lead than the 4th district in an area that they used to hold a 22-point advantage. Nevada's 1st district now has a 4-point advantage for Democrats from what was a 22-point advantage. So now, in all three of these Democratic districts, they are single digits, which means they are going to be very competitive in the 2022 election cycle. Even the most recent 2020 election, in a map, yes, seemingly less pro-Democrat than the one that we are being proposed to now in 2 of these districts. But looking at, the margins here, they were still pretty close. Knowing that 2020 was a year in which the Democratic Party was able to win a trifecta and Joe Biden was able to win on the presidential ballot means these margins aren't really that impressive. Looking at the Democratic Party winning by a margin of less than 5 in Nevada's 4th means that in a year that is completely on the opposing side for the GOP, meaning they're swinging the margin tremendously. For instance, let's take a look at the generic ballot today. I don't know if we can find it quickly enough on 538 website, but you can see on the 538 website that when it comes down to the generic ballot, Republicans actually have taken the lead for the first time ever since, I believe, January of 2016. So with the generic ballot moving away from the Democratic Party, I won't be able to find it in time, moving away from the Democratic Party, putting the Republicans in the advantage means that the popular vote margin could shift tremendously. And if the Republicans end up with a near 2010 or 2014 nationwide popular vote victory, that means Democrats are done for in many of these districts. So looking at them, while Democrats were able to survive back in 2020, you can't deny the very real nature that many of these districts could be competitive. In fact, that all 3 of these could go to the GOP. If one of these districts, or all of them, have at most a partisan lean of Democrat plus 5, or a partisan lean of Democrat plus 2, that means they are about 2 to 5 points more Democratic than the rest of the nation. But that doesn't mean much if the nation is turning on President Biden, if the nation is turning on the Democratic Party. Republicans now have the advantage on the popular vote when it comes down to the generic ballot. Joe Biden is still unpopular by near double digits on the national average. So Democrats are, in essence, screwed over by this new map from what used to be a solid Democratic district, with Democrats narrowly holding on to these 2 races, with Republicans having a solid seat. I think that this map, in an effort to be fair, was built in a way to crack Las Vegas in order to potentially make it more beneficial for Democrats, but I think they will start to see exactly why this map should not have passed in the first place, and it might be regarded by some as what we would call a dummy mander. Now, this is just as defined by thepoliticaldictionary.com, a play on the term gerrymander, and it refers to a redrawing of a district map that actually ends up benefiting the opposite party that was designed to help. So in this position, a map that the Democrats, I think, are happy with momentarily because they take the advantage, but now knowing that all three of their districts are competitive means that we could end up with a 4-0 delegation of GOP control in the state of Nevada, and it wouldn't be too hard to see. Looking at 2014, the reason why this one district I think was so important to keep is because Democrats actually faced a very similar scenario to what they might face on the 2022 midterm elections. Now, this is the same exact map as the old one, and keep this in mind when you take a look at some of these results, right? Republicans taking advantage of 1 in Nevada's 4th, Republicans taking advantage of 5 in Nevada's 3rd, and Democrats take a 22-point advantage in Nevada's 1st district. Well, when you take a look at the 2014 House results, all the districts flipped except for 1, and that 1 was for the Democrats in the 1st congressional district. But here's the thing. With that Democratic Party victory, I mean, you're looking at them winning by a margin of about 19 points across the district. Very good margin, but you see a decrease about 3% relative to where it was. And also, arguably, Las Vegas has gotten a bit more pro-Democratic over the past few years, and just historically speaking, Nevada is a blue state. But in that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th district, Republicans did very well. In the 3rd district, which previously had a partisan lean, or now won't, but previously had a partisan lean, Republicans +5, they won in 2014 with 61% of the vote. 61%. In that 4th district, with a partisan lean of Republican +1, the Republicans won by a margin of less than 3 points, but it was still a victory regardless. The Democratic Party was unable to hold on to their 3 districts here, or 2 of these districts here, or win them, because of the fact that they were drawn in a way that gave Republicans the opportunity of winning them given a wave year. And that's exactly what will happen in 2022. Looking at those districts, they shifted by tremendous amounts. For instance, Nevada's 3rd district here, in which the Republicans won 61% of the vote, right? Well, that 3rd district is a partisan lean of Republican +5, I believe. So with that narrow Republican +5 lead, the Republican ended up winning here by a margin of 24 points across the district, which means that some of these districts, in fact all of them, that now are Democrat +5, Democrat +2, Democrat +4, gives the GOP immense opportunities to win across this map. And it's very reminiscent, I think, if we are to declare it a dummy mander, of what we saw in the state of Arkansas. In the state of Arkansas, the Democratic Party held control of the state legislature since Reconstruction until the 2010s. They were able to dominate when it came down to House elections in the state of Arkansas, and it made sense. The Democrats were the favored party because Arkansas was historically a part of the South and still is very much a part of the South, but now the South has a different identity. Even though the party flip and the party switch happened around the 1960s, you still have to see that Arkansas still had that Democratic stronghold. Many of these ancestral Democrats, in fact, in many of these southern states, Democrats have a near equal, in fact, sometimes more, representation and political party ideology or identification in these southern states, despite them overwhelmingly voting to the right, because these are ancestral Democrats. But what the Democratic Party did in Arkansas was take a map that was ultimately meant to give the Democratic Party 3 out of the 4 districts that they have. 3 out of the 4 districts in the state of Arkansas. And this map was drawn in a way that, based off of previous historical standing, might have held. For instance, taking a look at these congressional districts, the average PVI, which is the statewide races since the 2006 presidential election, 3 of these districts had a Cook PVI, or not Cook PVI, just a regular PVI, that was averaged out to Democrat +5 in the 1st district, Democrat +4 in the 2nd district, and Democrat +2 in the 4th district. The 3rd district had a Republican lean of 11 with the PVI here. But in the 2012 presidential election, Mitt Romney won every single one of these congressional districts, and he won them with very solid margins. For instance, in the 1st district, the one with the highest Democratic lean, Mitt Romney won 63% of the vote. In the 2nd district, Mitt Romney won 56% of the vote. And in the 4th district, Mitt Romney won 63% of the vote again. All three of these districts had apparently Democratic leans. And for that Republican plus 11 lean, so the Republicans didn't just win 60% of the vote in the 3rd district, or 56%. They ended up winning 67%. Mitt Romney won 67% over Barack Obama in this 3rd district. And keep in mind, this map was drawn just 2 years prior. The Democratic Party really underestimated the amount of Republican resurgence in the state of Arkansas, and ultimately, this map that was meant to benefit the Democrats actually ended up drawing 4 districts for the GOP without giving Democrats the opportunity of winning a single district. And here's the thing about the state of Arkansas. They absolutely have a district that can be drawn in a way that benefits the Democratic Party. Let me show you what I mean by that. Taking a look at the 2018 House results in the state of Arkansas, you can see that this 2nd district came down to a margin of about 7 points. That's because Little Rock, the state's biggest capital with the biggest population, ended up being pretty close. In the 2020 election, French Hill won as the incumbent with about 10% more of the vote than the Democratic opponent, but back in 2018 only won by a margin of less than 7%. This is a region of the state that has enough Democratic support that Democrats could have drawn at least one safe district within the state of Arkansas, but instead they went for more. The same thing that we might be seeing in the state of Nevada. They are trying to win these 3 districts routinely by putting themselves in the advantage. Rather than have to worry about a 2014 map of 1-3, they want to end up with a constant 3-1. But the thing is, it's not that simple. The way they drew this map and have confirmed it puts the Democratic Party at a jeopardy point where they could very well lose every single one of these districts in 2022, the same way that Democrats immediately lost every single one of these districts in the 2012 House elections. I mean, knowing these results, knowing how the dummy mander, in effect, in the state of Arkansas screwed over the Democratic Party, many Democrats should have been cautious, because they also have done this before in other states, specifically in the South. For instance, in the state of Georgia, let's see if we can find the example here. I believe it was on this map. The Democratic Party drew the Georgia congressional map to a point where there would be 9 Democrats and 1 Republican by the end of it, and ultimately ended up with about, I believe, right here, the 1992 Georgia Dem gerrymander that went from a 9 Democrat to 1 Republican advantage in 1991 to a 3 Democrat and 8 Republican deficit by 2001. So the map can change. I think that's with the additional map here. But ultimately, what happened was that the new map changed in a way that Democrats were able to, originally had such a strong advantage, and they drew it in a way to ensure that that advantage never changed. And it ultimately did, because they spread their support too thin and they went for too much. And that's what could be happening in the state of Nevada. So Democrats just gave up a state where they had full total control. And it's not to say that Democrats can't win all 3 of these districts in 2022. If Nevada ends up being a replication of what we saw in 2016, I personally would expect the Democrats to win 3 out of these 4 districts. But that's a big ask. To ask for the incumbent Democratic senator in Nevada to win by a margin of 2.4% in 2022 is a big ask. These are things that the Democratic Party will have to maintain and will have to work towards, because it's not going to be handed to them like it has been in years past. Nevada is going to be more competitive now than it has been in the past 6 to 7 years. I think the last time Nevada could be deemed this competitive for the GOP, where they actually ended up coming super close to winning and possibly will win, was around 2014. Moving beyond that, even 2016, taking a look at our House of Representatives elections, the Democrats were able to pick up both of those 2 seats, even in 2016. They picked up the 3rd and 4th district, not necessarily by the largest margins. In the 3rd district, the margin here, I believe, with Jackie Rosen won by 1.2%, and in the 4th district, the Democrats won by a margin of about 4.1%. So ultimately, Democrats were able to win the state of Nevada and win the popular vote across the state, but it was still extremely close. And 2016 probably won't be exactly how 2022 will end up being. I think 2022 can be comparable to 2014 or 2010. Even in 2016, Democrats picked up 2 Senate seats and 6 House seats. So even then, the congressional maps weren't that bad for the Democrats. But taking a look at Nevada's new congressional map, knowing our national environment, knowing that states such as New Jersey and Virginia shifted by margins of 12 to 13 points, means that this partisan lean of Democrat plus 2, 4, 5 really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the GOP will be picking them up. It will obviously still be difficult for the GOP to win all of these districts, but I certainly would not put it past them, especially since Democrats won't have that one solid district, and we could be in for what we saw in 2014, where instead of Democrats, though, and this is the caveat compared to 2014, instead of Democrats winning that one singular district with the Republicans winning 3, we could very well end up with 4 Republicans and 0 Democrats, as I think the Republicans almost saw in 2018 in the state of Iowa, and as Democrats have seen in years past with this dummy matter, specifically in the state of Arkansas. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2022 midterm election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.